Signs your ex is not over you. I'm going to tell you some things that you can observe that can give you a good idea of where your ex is as far as moving on or being over you, or just to tell you if no contact is having much of an effect. And some of these things are when they've already made contact with you or contact has kind of remained, maybe because it had to. But even if that's not you, stick with this list because you're probably going to glean something that can be helpful in you figuring out the situation and determining what you want to do going forward. Number 1, keeping or renewing connections with your friends or family. So if you hear about your ex reaching out to a friend that was really more your friend than theirs, or to one of your family members, and they don't have to necessarily be asking about you. A lot of times they're just trying to take a small step to get back into your life, or hoping that the person will volunteer some information so that maybe they can figure some things out about you. Or they're hoping that that message gets back to you, because sometimes when an ex doesn't know what to do, especially when they're in the curiosity stage or the early stages of concern, they're still holding out for you to do the dirty work, for you to try to fix what they broke. But remember, that means that they're not ready yet. They're not there yet to where you two could successfully get back together. Most likely, obviously anything can happen, but usually if they're still holding out for you to be the one to reach out and they're the one who broke up with you, then they're just not there yet. And if you two do temporarily seem to get back together, there's a higher likelihood of it fading out. Doesn't mean it definitely will, but I'm just saying in this situation, it doesn't mean that you should jump to contact them and celebrate. It means you stay with no contact. You don't initiate contact with them because they're not quite there yet, but they're getting closer. Number 2 is mirroring your activities or interests. And so if they are showing up and doing things maybe that you kind of taught them or got them to do, and it was more of your thing, but now they're showing interest in it, or if they're continuing to show an interest in a hobby that you two shared together, those are good signs that maybe they want that to get to you, or they're hoping to see you there, or that they're basically remembering the times that you two did that. And they're kind of giving themselves a little bit of a trip down memory lane. But also, sometimes an ex will test their feelings. And this is really important. That's one of the reasons I tell you, for example, in the previous sign that I listed, that just because they're doing some of these things does not mean you reach out to them, because they could be testing their own feelings. And people do this. This really happens. I have all kinds of cases where I've seen this, and so you have to be patient. But if they're showing interest in things that are kind of your area or your activities or your hobbies, then it can definitely be a sign that there's some activity that's moving towards you within their heart, and that the earth may be moving under your feet just a little bit as far as them getting closer to where they could actually reach out and be direct with you about wanting to get back together. Number 3 is such a common one that I hear in coaching sessions, and it's where your ex will want to stay in touch with your pet. So maybe it's a pet you two got together, or maybe it's just your pet, and they'll say, well, could I come walk the dog maybe every Tuesday, or could I come see the cat? Or they remind you, they reach out, they email you, or maybe they text you and they say, look, if you're ever out of town and you want someone to dog sit for you, I'll do that. And you may think, well, that's just because they're close to my dog, or that's just because they like the cat, or whatever. And it could be that, but it could also be that they aren't sure what they feel, that they're conflicted. They don't know if they want to get back together with you or not, but they feel that they might. And again, it's kind of testing their feelings a little bit. They're hoping that they get to run into you, they get to have a conversation with you, or maybe that you two actually walk that dog together. Something like that. Again, it doesn't mean that they are just ready to jump back in, but usually it means that they are at least open to it, that they're considering it, that the future is a question mark for them. And so if you're looking for a sign, this is definitely a potential. Before I get to number 4, get more information on my emergency breakup kit. It's my guide to help you get your ex back, and you can get information on that at myexbackcoach.com/EBK. myexbackcoach.com/EBK. I appreciate you listening to my commercial. Obviously, I have a staff, and we all can't just live on love and have bills to pay, and so I appreciate your support. The Emergency Breakup Kit is a powerful guide to help you get your ex back, and it's at myexbackcoach.com/EBK. You can also schedule a coaching session with me on that same website. Number 4, commenting on your friends' socials. And obviously this is more poignant when it's a friend who's more of your friends and not really theirs. But it's still important, even if it's a mutual friend, because they know that the odds are pretty good you're going to see it. And so whatever words they put in there, it means they're comfortable with you seeing those words. And again, it can clue you in to your ex maybe thinking that they're testing their feelings. They're going to see if you respond or reach out, because they're not wanting to gamble. They're not wanting to take any risk. They're not wanting to do the work of putting you two back together, even though they broke the two of you. And so is that a good sign? Yes, it is. It does not mean you should do anything, because they are not ready yet unless they are willing and ready to be direct and reach out to you. And that is true no matter what their attachment style is. And you need to be patient. Now, obviously, if you've watched a lot of my videos, I say that there is a time when enough time has passed that if you want to reach out, there's nothing wrong with that, because it's your decision. You're the one who has to feel if you got closure, which I tell you a lot of times, try not to get closure. But again, these are your decisions. And so if you reach the 3 or 4 month mark, you haven't heard from them, and you are seeing some of these signs, then maybe you do casually reach out to check on them. That's your business. I'm just saying that after that much time has passed, that you have gotten so much of what no contact can get you, and that you're really not going to hurt anything, and that it might just help you move on, because if they don't respond, or if they definitely seem more reserved than you expected them to be, then maybe that can help you move on. Or I have seen people get back together, because sometimes just that conversation, their willingness to see you face to face, having a conversation, and you can kind of start things over with them, especially if you don't talk about the breakup and you don't talk about the relationship. And I talk about more of how to handle it when your ex wants to talk to you and you're face to face with them in my emergency breakup kit, which I mentioned earlier. You can get it at myexbackcoach.com. But if they are commenting on your friend's social media, then they likely know that you're going to see it. And they're trying to kind of put themselves in your orbit a little bit, again, hoping you'll be the one to reach out, because most likely they're not sure enough yet to do it themselves. But they're more than willing for you to do it, because it validates, it builds an ego, it makes them feel super sexy, and all that stuff that we all like. So be cautious, but this is likely a sign. Number 5, this is something else that I've seen from coaching sessions where people have said this is happening, and then those people ended up getting back together, and this is that they post a picture of themselves on social media where they are wearing something you got them. So maybe it's jewelry, maybe it's a shirt, maybe it's a hat, whatever the case may be, but it's something that you got them, and they post it knowing you're probably going to see it, or that you might. They may not know that you're following them, or they may not know that you're watching, and I hope you're not watching their stories, because you know that's a no-no if you've seen my other videos, and if you haven't, check them out. But you should not be watching their stories, because they know that you're watching. But if they post a picture where they are wearing something that you got them, again, what other reason could there be except that they kind of want you to see? Because if they know you're going to see it and they're specifically wearing something you got them, it's a little bit too much, if you know what I mean. Again, this does not mean you should contact them and say, hey, I saw you post that picture wearing something I got you. They're not ready yet until they reach out to you directly. But it's a good sign that they're getting closer, because it looks like they're trying to get your attention. Number 6, keeping pictures of the two of you online. So even after you broke up, they just can't bring themselves to remove those pictures. Or, as I've seen when I've talked to people in coaching sessions, they've said, well, they took down some pictures, but then they put them back up. And I've heard they took a bunch of pictures down, but they left some up. And it's like they get to a spot and they say, I've deleted enough pictures, I can't bring myself to remove them all. And that's good, because it means there's still something there. It's a sign of life. And again, not when you should contact them, but it does mean that perhaps they are getting closer to that. They're feeling some things. They're going through some conflict. They're thinking about it. They're wondering if the breakup was a mistake. And you being in no contact is a big contributor to this. So stay in no contact, but this is a good sign. And this last one is more if there is some contact with your ex, but if there's not right now, you still need to hear it, because if there is, you want to be prepared. But it's when they start asking you about your future plans. They want to know what you're doing next week or next year, what your plans are with work or your living arrangements or something like that. And it's good when they start thinking about the future and you, because it means a lot of times that they have gotten over that initial relief stage, and they're probably deep into the curiosity stage. And I talk about these stages in my video, stages your ex goes through during no contact, as well as in my emergency breakup kit. But if they're deep in the concern stage, then that means that no contact has made them realize you can stay away, which means you can move on. And they're thinking about that, and they're kind of wondering where your mind is. They're kind of seeing where you're going, because like I've said in other videos, usually when the ex breaks up with you, of course they're not an ex when they break up with you, but when someone breaks up with you and they become your ex, they kind of have this assumption that they could get you back whenever they wanted you, because that's the dynamic that they know. They want to break up with you, but you want to stay with them. And so there's sort of this feeling that you will be a permanent option for them. And when you push back against that by not chasing, not contacting them, and basically showing no signs of life from your side as far as directly contacting them or indirectly, then they realize you are not initiating contact. You are not making an attempt to get them back, or at least that's what it looks like. And when they see that, a lot of times that's a reality check. And that's a different dynamic now that's going on in their thoughts, because they realize you are not a permanent option, that you could move on. And that can definitely shift things in their mind. Do they really want this breakup after all? Is missing you something that is just what they're going to deal with? It's going to be normal and they think they can get over it, or is it bothering them enough? And so these are things that your ex is going to have to journey with in their mind. And you need to let that happen. Don't interrupt that. Stay in no contact. Don't fix what they broke, because you won't fix it. It will just be an attempt, and it will most likely fail. Get more information on my emergency breakup kit. You can also book a coaching session with me at myexbackcoach.com, and I can roll up my sleeves and personally help you to have the best chance of getting your ex back. This has been Coach Lee, and as always, thank you for watching.